Well, hello, NFT.NYC community, and you're welcome. I know many of you are excited to hear what our friend Fabian has to say from LUKSO. Your background is so amazing, all the things that you've done for the blockchain community, but I really believe that what you're working on today is the most important thing. Can you please introduce yourself for those that may not know who you are and what you've done in this space, and then tell us a bit about what you're most passionate about at LUKSO today?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me in the treehouse. So basically, my background is with Ethereum. I've been part of the Ethereum Foundation early on, worked there as the lead DApp developer, kind of from the beginning. Built the first Web3 browser that was very popular in the early days called the Mist browser, built the official Ethereum wallet. Worked on the developer libraries, mainly published Web3.js, which is one of the most popular developer libraries with some 40 million downloads or so by now. And proposed the first smart contract standard, in fact, called ERC20. Kicked off this ICO wave, then DeFi wave, followed by now the NFT wave, in a way like a derivative of ERC20. And since a few years working on LUKSO together with Marjorie, really creating a new network, EVM-like network, EVM compatible, so Ethereum-like network, more like ETH2-like network, really, for the new creative economy, what we call the new creative economy, which is now a term that becomes more and more popular everywhere. Just saw today a book mentioning literally blockchain in the new creative economy as a title. Something we put 2019 in our white paper, which we called the blueprint for the new creative economy. now it's literally everywhere else too. And the new creative economy we see happening now, right? With NFTs, conference like NFT.NYC, right? Something that wasn't a thing before. Right. Before it was probably DeFi NFT or ETH NFT, ETH NYC and things like this. Still exists though. And basically, the last few years have been mainly building, the network is one thing that's also part and evolution from, it's part and evolution from obviously what ETH2 is building, right? We're using this kind of technology to build our network as well. We're building on a foundation that's very proven and running already since a while. But at the same time, the main real hard work and the thing that takes time is developing standards, right? And developing standards is something that I have been doing, already 2015, seemed to be working out for the whole space somehow to have a standard or have standards. But now really rethinking this whole standards experience. And the standards experience, or basically, in fact, the user experience, right, that we have a blockchain does require better basic building blocks, does require better elements, core elements that we're using. Probably everybody who has been part of the blockchain space realized that the user experience is not the greatest. So MetaMask, even though it's already a better user experience like early Bitcoin wallets, but it's still far from either pretty nor easy, right? User experience means especially for not knowledgeable people that are not techie, not have been in the space for a while, you expose them to the idea of a seed, something to write down, do not forget, this idea of there's no recoverability, that if you lose it, you lose it. The idea of that you have to pay your transaction fees yourself, that means deal with exchanges, KYCs, and all of these steps that are more bank level, application level. Right? People do not understand this. And obviously, if we want people to use blockchain on a daily basis, if we want them to interact with decentralized applications, we need to make this hurdle go away. And in short, basically, this is what we have been, what I have been initially proposing as standard, and now we have been building out over the last few years. And that's literally the building blocks that will come with the LUKSO network that will fix all of this.
Can you talk about the importance of universal profiles? I feel like universal profiles and the work that you and your team have done at LUKSO, that other people aren't talking about it the way that your team is. They don't recognize, or at least they don't articulate the importance of it. And if they're doing work toward it, I don't know about it, but I have already engaged with the work that LUKSO and the team have done. And I find it to be vital for our future as an industry and as humanity, really. So can you talk a bit about universal profiles, the importance of it, where your team's at, and where we're going, and what the promise of tomorrow might bring?
Yeah. So universal profile is basically a blockchain-based account system. If you have a blockchain-based account system, you have an account that you truly own, right? And the difference to the old blockchain-based account systems, which is just private keys and public keys, is that I now have something that actually I can change my password for, right? Something that's just not like one password, do not forget. But this is something that I can literally have multiple devices controlling it, give different levels of permissions, access it from different devices, having different keys that control the same profile. Another important factor is a universal profile, a blockchain-based profile, gives me true ownership over whatever information attached to this profile, but also the ability to interact and own things on that network which it's sitting on. So I can create NFTs, I can own NFTs, I can create tokens, I can participate in a DAO with a profile that actually has a face, has a profile picture, has a name, has a description, has links. It's something that you literally can identify. So DAOs now can literally have real members, not just random addresses that are totally unknown or anonymous. It's kind of like, ushering in the ability to have a truly decentralized account system that the internet really needs. It comes with pros and cons, obviously, and we have to now educate people of what this means to have a blockchain-based profile, right? There's obviously a certain level of publicity that you have with it, but there's also a certain level of privacy that you could create on top of this as well. But it's also extremely vital for universal or public profiles, so to say, right? If you're an artist, if you're a creator, if you're someone that creates something that you want to gain reputation exposed to the world, the ability to see what you do and what you created is vital, right? If an NFT is not pointing back to its profile, creation profile, right? And that's your artist profile, then it's a complete unauthentic, guessable, authentic, you kind of have to guess if it's authentic or not, right? You have to look up some websites. Here we can make blockchain-based profiles that have that kind of information, at its core, really. And this is kind of the most important thing, really, here, bringing profiles that are truly user-owned. And they can also function as a login. They can be literally your internet identity. If you log in with this kind of profiles, they are anonymous as any kind of login is today, right? You just sign messages, you send them off to the server. They can prove it's you, they can identify you. Nothing has to happen on the blockchain. So for logging in things, for signing in, it's pretty much as private as other things today. But when it comes to anything on the blockchain, obviously your profile is as transparent as you want it to be. And if you put your face on it and you make transactions, people will definitely see that, which is a benefit for brands and creatives. If you want to be super secret, maybe don't put your profile picture there. You use one of your 5 other profiles that
That's right. Exactly. You have a lot of development. By the time NFT.NYC happens in a few weeks, LUKSO will be announcing and sharing a ton of new work that's been done. What can you share with us today? What can you tell us about that is about to be revealed to the community?
So we have been hard working the last few years, and basically we're at this point where everything we have been building kind of comes together, the last puzzle pieces fall in place. It's sadly not the mainnet, which probably the community would like to know. That's still an outstanding puzzle piece, but it is all the standards, the tools, and the way to interact with your profiles as a normal user. And also, which then enables also the developer experience to be easy. These pieces are coming together, and we will soon all pack them out and reveal them together as kind of a cohesive system and a cohesive thing you can experience. It will be the point where finally all of this, work of the last sweat of the last few years comes together. We will be also starting our public testnet, the L16 testnet, something that's already running as a kind of pre-version of it in our community. Our community is already running a network like that. We are testing out things. We will relaunch this as the actual official public testnet. And then you can start building. You can actually go, use this testnet to build your things in the ETH2 type way, right? It's like literally like a Casper consensus execution engine. It's an Ethereum 2-like network, full in its shape and form. And you can use all of our standards, tools. We have libraries to interact with these standards. We have libraries to deploy these standards. So it's a one-liner for you as a developer. We have the browser extension, the kind of MetaMask 2.0, if you will, the thing that will make MetaMask look not so great anymore. And it also shows what blockchain user experience can be. It can basically be, a scan of a QR code, a click of a button, creating a profile and interacting with blockchain applications, hiding all the complexity while making it in such a way that you don't need to be scared, that tomorrow everything is gone if you like click the wrong button or lose the wrong paper with 12 words somewhere. So it's the basis that will enable actually a new creative economy. It will probably power the next 5 to 10 years of blockchain applications. It will be as fundamental as ERC20 has been, if not even bigger than that. And it will literally be the birth of this new creative economy in the first place. Right now, we see the experiments, let's say, the early tryouts around this, but that will be the birth. It's the foundational stone that's missing to make this even real.
Can you tell me, how many languages do you speak?
When you're like coding languages on?
Yeah, just like, English and German.
I speak like English, German, and a bit of Spanish, so it's not that much.
So German's your mother language?
German is my mother tongue, yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to say to you was I want to thank you on behalf of the English-speaking world for your willingness to use your second language to communicate with all of us, and not just to communicate like in this format or on a stage, but also, the different people that you've recruited and worked with over time. So I want to invite you to do something at the end of our interview that might be a bit different. And I wanted to ask if you could give kind of a encouragement and kind of a final, speak life into the community, but I'd like you to do it in German. And if people want to hear what you have to say and they speak English, it's really easy. You go to Google Translate, it'll tell you exactly what you're saying. The reason why I want to ask you to do that is I want to recognize our global community. And this is not about Americans that speak English. This is about all humanity. This is about the 3 billion people in the world that don't have the internet yet, about the 3 billion people in the world that make less than $2 a day. They don't speak English. They speak their own mother tongue. And ideally, they'll speak to computers, and computers will speak back to them. And I just want to recognize that you do have a mother tongue in German and that that's what you feel the most. And so as we wrap our conversation, can you just give us kind of a charge to the industry in German? And those that want to know what you have to say, there's plenty of tools for them to translate it themselves. So please give us kind of a final thought in German, if you don't mind.
A final thought in German. Okay. Ich glaube, wir müssen diesen Space fundamental ändern in der Art und Weise, wie wir damit umgehen, und Universal Profiles und diese Tools, die wir bauen, das wird das eigentlich Leben erst in diesen ganzen Space hauchen. Und ich glaube, wir müssen uns als Gesellschaft dezentralisieren. Wir müssen neue Tools schaffen und Art und Weisen, wie wir als Gesellschaft interagieren und kommunizieren. Und Decentralized Social Applications werden vermutlich das nächste große Ding.
I'm so glad I asked you to do that. Because
amazing.
That's the language that you
by
feel.
The way, do ever I have asked me that.
Well, I'm glad I did. I mean, that's how you feel. You're going to feel German more than English. And
actually, so much, it has changed over the years because my main language is English now. Literally,
is it?
It's almost like it transformed my mother tongue. I mean, my whole team is in English speaking. Right. I mean, literally in our whole project, in our company, we are 2 Germans.
Wow.
We are extremely international. We have like Africans and UK and East Europe and France and like people from all over the place, that have been, or they're working with us on a daily basis, or from India and wherever. So it's extremely international.
Right.
It's literally like what the world obviously is right now. We're
Yeah.
shrinking together into this new village,
Yes.
and we need the right, core pieces to be in that village on our own, and being also the deciders. And I think, a public profile is like a very key piece in that, and that has been missing, right?
Yes. Finally, are you recruiting? Are you building your team? How can people work with you? How can they work for you at LUKSO?
We absolutely recruiting, and we want to have the coolest and the best to work for us. So if you are interested, if you have what it takes, jobs.LUKSO.network, there's places you can also apply if you think you're a super genius. I mean, ideally, what we really like is, people who can well communicate in the tech world, who kind of like balance tech and communication. That would be massively great. And people who really are like hardcore in the Ethereum stack, building the apps, smart contracts, working on the consensus level, blockchain architects. Those are the people that we would love to have the most, from the community. Absolutely. If you have what it takes, please feel free to come join.
And so I'll say to the community, if you are a world-class developer or worker and you can make it and get hired, 10 years from now, you're going to look back and see what LUKSO has accomplished in the next decade. And if you're on the team, then you get to participate and help create that and be a part of it. And if you could have been on the team and you look back 10 years from now, you always kind of wonder like, well, what if I would have tried? What if I would have tried to join that team with the innovative leaders and all that you, Fabian, and your team bring to the table? So that's why I asked. Okay, friends, I have Marjorie from the Dematerialized coming on in a moment. So I'll be back with another conversation. I would never end this. I would just keep asking questions all day if I didn't have something else to do. Thank you for jumping on with me. Thank you for sharing with our community. Thank you for doing the panel last year and the talk. The whole crowd demanded that you keep going. It was like you were a musician, like one more song, one more, one more slide. They just wanted more.
It was definitely a very awesome presentation. I had a whole audience like jailing for me to let me speak to the end and giving me literally an extra 15 minutes of talking. That was definitely the most interesting talk I had so far. Not like biggest audience, but it's definitely like the most engaged one. I really felt like they wanted to hear me out.
Well, when you speak, people listen, and they should, and I'm glad that they do. And I look forward to spending time with you in New York very, very soon.